Good everyone and welcome to today's video, and today we have another discussion video on a battle pass, and this is for the new Airborne General battle pass. This will be definitely one that will be a bit more interesting, to say the least, given the composition of vehicles that we've had. And there's definitely two that are on my radar out of the three. The one that isn't is this ship, but well, for those that actually watch my channel, you know that I'm not a naval player, and I will only play naval unless I absolutely have to. So, yeah, I might have some use out of this thing. Harry's already given me a bloody request for this thing because he hates me that much. But well, that's normal, isn't it? Um, so yeah, let's quickly go over each vehicle as we usually do with this discussion video, and we're going to talk about the battle pass in general. Obviously, the at the time of this recording, and most likely when this video goes out, there has not been the announcement for the challenges nor the war bonds. So just bear in mind that this is purely going to be based off of the vehicles. Anyway, without further ado, let's have a look at the Le Triumphant. I'm just going to call it the Triumph because it's easier, and plus that's British. For those that remember the Triumph cars and all that and the motorbikes, but anyway. So I don't know a huge amount about this destroyer, I'll be brutally honest, and this is something where I've had to ask the naval, well I say the naval, the closet naval players in my Discord server. One of which being Fly, who has played the French destroyers as far as I know. And he tells me this thing is going to be awful because, well, yeah, it's not exactly what you would call, like, from what he's told me, it's got no HEVT, it's got, well, it's a destroyer, so I was expecting the no armor part. The SAP is crap, no pun intended. The HE isn't much better, to say the least. And whilst its speed is very good, that's not going to help it if it can't do as much damage as another typical destroyer. So, yeah, this is sort of like this. I don't even know if this thing gets torpedoes. I've not looked really into this because obviously I'm not too interested in the French naval tree in general, like any naval tree. But like I say, it's the fact that this thing seems to have pretty big guns, but at the same time they're also pretty crap because they have crap sap. Now I'm no naval player, but I know sap is pretty important, and the anti-aircraft protection is also not that great for the size of the ship. I mean, two 40mm Bofors, two 37mm cannons, and six 20mm Oerlikons. This can help, but obviously it's not going to guarantee that your destroyer is safe from aircraft. And obviously with no HEVT for the 10 or the 138s, although I'm just going to call it 139s because it rounds up, I don't know how this thing's going to do. For those that are a dedicated naval player, let me know what you think because I don't have a monkeys, but still, that's obviously not what we're really focusing on in terms of what I'm interested in, but also what most of you guys will be interested in. One of the vehicles that I'm sure many of us, including myself and, well, Harry's already jumping for joy over this one, we have the free aircraft reward. This is the vehicle that you're going to be getting as the freebie. So obviously the last battle pass had the truck, which was pretty nice to get. Obviously it's not the best, but like it's good enough, it's unique. And this isn't technically unique, but it also is. I'll elaborate. So obviously if you've read the devlog already, you already know. So this is essentially a beefed up IL-2 called the IL-8. Now, I don't know if it still carries the Illusion part, like the, not the Illusion, Sturmovik, that's it. I don't know if it's still called the Sturmovik, I would imagine so, but I don't know. So this basically takes an IL-2 and takes the early Su-6 engine, which is the AM-42, and slaps it in an IL-2 with improved armor for the rear gunner and just overall improved armor. And it also has improved bomb racks. So these little bomb racks that you can see in the little video playing here, those are 500 kilogram bomb racks, which that's definitely a step up from what we're used to with the IL-2. Obviously, we do have the 250 kilogram bombs on the IL-2, but I mean, that's pretty much mostly what you can take. You can take a couple of rockets if you want, but I personally just take the 250s, and that tends to do me just fine. And of course, with it having the 23mm Doom cannons, as Harry likes to nickname them, this thing will be able to butcher tanks quite easily. The only catch is I don't know where this thing's going to go in terms of BR. I would probably stay around 4.7 because obviously it does have a ray gunner, which does seem to have armored glass from what the devblog says. And obviously, with it being a ground attacker, it's not going to be the fastest. It is going to be relatively maneuverable, but from what the devblog says, which I'll scroll down a little bit just so you can see, it is saying that it isn't going to be the best in terms of overall handling and everything. Like it's obviously it's an IL, it's a heavier IL-2, and the IL-2 is a bit of a boss at low speeds. But I digress. This seems to be as well the unlockable camouflage, so it reminds me of the 1943 IL-2, the one in the tech tree. But yeah, this glass seems to be armored, which is definitely a step up from what we are used to in terms of the IL-2 airframe, because normally you just have a single plate of, like, I think it's 10 millimeters thick steel, and then your gun is just exposed to the elements. It's not exactly efficient for, I mean, you can kill planes with it, I'm not saying you can't, but to me, this is a much better improvement. And to be honest, if this thing comes in around 4.7, I will be using this for a lot of my dailies, that's for sure. So, of course, as I mentioned, it does have the AM42 engine. It does have extra armor on the gunner's area, so the sides and the bottom. And like I said, it looks like it's got armored glass. I can't confirm that. But the fact is, you now have custom loadouts on this thing, I would imagine. But there is one other downside: you can't take rockets for this thing. But to be honest, I'm not losing sleep over that. The fact is, we get a better IL-2 with improved bomb loads. But as Lonius pointed out, we've not really had a non-copy paste fighter. Which, shout out to Lonius because he pointed this out. And to be honest, I was going to point it out anyway. But I digress. One thing I've noticed about the Battle Pass, and one thing he's noticed as well, is we've not really had any fighters that are not copy paste. The last sort of non copy paste fighter was the A6M6, which was, well, it's essentially an A6M5 high with a different engine. Slightly different, but nothing to write home about. And that's something that I think the Battle Pass could probably step back forward into. There are plenty of wacky sorts of things that we could have. For example, the British Mustang that carried two Vickers S cannons. Who the heck would not want that? Like, it was a Mark II or Mark 1 Mustang, I can't remember. And it had the 20 mils replaced with 240mm Vickers S. Now, I know we had the Bowfire with the Vickers S and the Rolls-Royce cannon, but let's be real, it's a Mustang with something unique. It would be a lot better than the Bowfire, but even so, that's my take on it. And now we move on to the last vehicle, which well, let's put it this way, this devlog only came out about an hour or two ago, and I just got home from work about 10-15 minutes ago. So, yeah, this is one where I haven't looked at the dev blog yet, but given what I know about this vehicle already, I think this thing's going to be pretty fun. So this is the M551 Sheridan. This is, I think, a battle rating 8.3. I don't know, the normal one, anyway. I think it's 8.3. I don't actually know. I've never looked. I know for a fact I'm near this thing in the tech tree, but I've never looked at it. It's always been a vehicle that caught my eye, to be honest, because it's a very interesting vehicle with its gun launcher, sort of 152mm gun and everything. Always wanted to drive it, but I've just never really gotten to that point in the US tech. Like, I mean, I have, but I've just not unlocked this thing yet. And it looks pretty interesting. But obviously, the main difference between this one and the one in the tech tree is this has the Walker Bulldog's gun, which is a gun that I like. So it does have the APDS, which, Gaijin, give us the heat. The American Bulldog and the Japanese Bulldog have not had heat, yet the German one has, but I digress. So this pretty much takes the M41 Walker Bulldog's 76mm gun and slaps it in a Sheridan. Now, I don't know, like, shall we say, I don't know if this thing is going to get the heat, as I said, and I also don't know what BR this thing's going to be, because, well, Battle Pass hasn't started yet, but also I'm not sure myself. This could be something where it could be down to its top speed, obviously 69, nice, kilometers an hour. This is, it looks pretty solid, and I mean, I quickly read through whilst I was scrolling there, where was it? 40 degrees a second on a top crew. This is going to be really nice, and it's definitely going to have something to go with it. Combine that with a two-plane stabilizer, this thing's going to be a bit of a menace. If I was to personally say a BR, I would probably suggest around 6-7, because obviously the Walker Bulldog's gun is more than efficient enough to deal with pretty much most threats once you get APS. But obviously, with this thing being faster and I would say a bit less inconspicuous, but given that 50 cal on the top, which makes it stick out like a sore thumb, I don't think so. I would probably say around 6-7, 7.0 ish for this vehicle, and it could probably do just fine. I don't know if it would require the heat to be at 7.0. Possibly. I think it's 256 mils a pen on the heat at any range. But it would be nice to have. And personally, I think this is a pretty good looking battle pass. And the vehicle itself, with this camouflage, really does suit it. Like, that's really nice. And I would definitely be grinding this battle pass. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. This is definitely a vehicle that I'm interested in. I'm interested in the Sheridan. But also the IL-8 and the Triumph. As I say, I'm just going to call it the Triumph. This seems to be a pretty good battle pass. Obviously, we have had some variants slip into the mix, because obviously this is technically a variant, 70 IL-8. And I'm happy for variants, as long as it's not over the top, if that makes sense. But I think they've done fine with this battle pass. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. But anyway, I'm going to leave you all to it for today. I hope you, well, for a start, hopefully you agree with me on this battle pass, because I think it's actually another good one. I don't think it's as good as the last one, because obviously the vehicles are technically variants, not unique, so to speak. But, you know, I think it's good enough, and I think they're definitely stepping up their game when it comes to the battle passes now. But anyway, I'm going to leave you all to it for today. Really hope you enjoyed this discussion video, and I will see you all on the next one.